Religion has shaped human history for thousands of years. But guess what? Some places around the world just aren't that into it. Today, we're counting down the 10 most atheist countries. And trust me, some of these are going to shock you. Smash that subscribe button and let's dive right in. Number 10, Germany. Around 40% of people there say they're either non-religious or straight-up atheist, which is a pretty big number when you think about it. And if you head over to the eastern part, what used to be East Germany, it's even more extreme. Religion wasn't just discouraged. It was kind of seen as unnecessary, even old-fashioned. So generations grew up without church on Sundays. No big religious holidays. None of that being a major part of life. Even today, you'll find these incredible historic churches standing tall. But most people just pass by them, not really connected to that part of their past. For a lot of Germans, especially younger ones, religion just isn't something they think about. Number 9, Australia. More than 39% of Aussies said they have no religion in the latest census, which is kind of wild when you think about it. That number's been climbing for years, and it shows no signs of slowing down. A lot of people in Australia just don't really do the religion thing. Not because they're against it, but because it's just not a big part of their lives. Some are spiritual, sure, and some believe in something bigger. But organized religion? For many, it's just not relevant. And honestly, that laid-back, live-and-let-live attitude kind of fits Australia perfectly. You've still got churches and holidays, but for a growing number of people, it's more about the culture than the faith behind it. Number 8, Norway. Norway is not just all breathtaking fjords and northern lights. It also happens to be one of the most secular countries on the planet. In fact, more than 50% of Norwegians say they don't believe in God. And that's a pretty massive shift when you think about Norway's deeply Christian history. Church attendance? It's an all-time low. For most Norwegians, religion just isn't a big part of everyday life anymore. It's not that people are anti-religion. It's more like they've just moved beyond it in their daily routines. You'll still see churches in every town, and some folks still attend for holidays or weddings. But on the whole, most people are more likely to spend their Sundays hiking in nature than sitting in a pew. In a way, Norway's calm, reflective culture seems to have blended seamlessly with a more secular, humanist worldview. Number 7, Denmark. Now, technically, a lot of Danes are still registered with the Church of Denmark, which is the official state church. But don't let that fool you. That's often more of a cultural thing than a sign of strong personal belief. When you actually look at surveys, only about 30% of people in Denmark say they believe in a personal God. That's not a lot. For many Danes, religion is kind of in the background. It's there for big life events like weddings, funerals, or maybe Christmas, but it doesn't really shape daily life. People in Denmark tend to value freedom of thought, equality, and personal choice. And religion just isn't a central part of that picture for most. Number 6, France. The place a lot of people call the birthplace of modern secularism. And honestly, that tracks. A huge chunk of the population doesn't really identify with any religion. And that's been the vibe for a long time now. Way back during the French Revolution, people started pushing back hard against religious authority, and that really shaped the way the country sees faith today. France has this whole concept called laicite. It's basically the idea that religion and the state should stay in their own lanes. So in public schools or government spaces, you're not going to see crosses on the wall or hear anyone leading prayers. It's just not a thing. For a lot of people in France, religion is super personal or just not a part of their lives at all. You'll still find those absolutely stunning cathedrals and old traditions. But for most, it's more about history and culture than belief. In everyday life, logic, freedom, and individuality take the lead. Number 5, New Zealand. This beautiful little country isn't just home to epic landscapes and Lord of the Rings filming locations. It's also one of the most secular places on Earth. Almost half the population says they have no religious affiliation, and that number keeps growing with each census. Now, Christianity is still technically the biggest single religion there. But more and more Kiwis are leaning towards secular and humanist values. It's not that people are anti-religion. It's just that for a lot of folks, spirituality or belief just isn't part of their daily routine. New Zealand has this really chill, live and let live attitude. And that seems to go hand in hand with a more laid-back approach to religion. You still got churches, sure, but you're just as likely to find people connecting with nature, mindfulness, or community in totally non-religious ways. Number 4, South Korea. This might actually surprise you. At first glance, it looks like religion is everywhere, from towering churches in the cities to ancient temples tucked away in the mountains. You'll even see crosses lit up in neon at night. But despite all that, the reality is pretty different. More than half of South Koreans say they don't belong to any religion, and a growing number of them identify as atheist or agnostic. It's not that religion isn't respected, it's just that for a lot of people, especially younger generations, it's not something they personally follow. Belief tends to be more private, more cultural than deeply practiced. So while religion is visible in public life, it plays a much smaller role in many people's everyday routines. Notres Estonia. Estonia might be a small country, but when it comes to secularism, it really leads the pack. Religion just isn't a big part of most people's lives here. In fact, the vast majority of Estonians don't identify with any religion at all, and we're talking over 70%. You won't see packed churches or religious debates dominating conversations. Instead, there's more of a quiet, live and let live attitude. People focus on nature, community, technology, and personal freedom. It's one of the most digitally advanced countries in the world, and that modern mindset seems to go hand in hand with a more secular way of living. Number 2, Czech Republic. This one really stands out. Around 72% of people there say they don't believe in any religion, which makes it one of the most secular countries in all of Europe. A big part of that goes back to the country's history. Decades of communist rule discouraged religion, and even before that, there was already a strong tradition of skepticism and free thought. So when the regime fell, religion didn't exactly bounce back. Today, most Czechs just live their lives without religion being part of the picture. You'll still find beautiful old churches and cathedrals, especially in places like Prague, but they're more like historic landmarks than active centers of faith for most people. And finally, at number 1, China. This one probably doesn't come as a huge surprise, but the numbers are still kind of mind-blowing. Depending on the source, it's estimated that anywhere from 80 to even 90% of people in China don't follow any organized religion, which makes it by far one of the most atheist countries in the world. But this isn't something that happened overnight. A lot of it comes down to history. Back in the mid-20th century, when the Communist Party took control, religion was seen as something that didn't fit with the new ideology. State atheism became the norm, and over the years, religion was pushed out of public life in a big way. Temples were shut down, churches were repurposed, and generations grew up without religion being part of their upbringing. Now, that doesn't mean China has no spiritual culture. Not at all. Traditional beliefs like Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism are still around, but they're often practiced more as cultural rituals than daily religious devotion. You might see people burning incense at a temple or visiting during the Lunar New Year, but for most, it's not about faith in the religious sense. It's more about heritage, family, and tradition. In modern China, values are shaped much more by education, science, personal success, and national pride than by any religious doctrine. So yeah, in a country with over 1 billion people, it's kind of fascinating how religion just doesn't play a big role in most people's daily lives.